Hi guys, welcome. Today I wanted to share 7 ways that you can set healthy boundaries. So, years ago, I did not set any boundaries at all whatsoever, and I was left feeling frustrated, angry, and resentment towards the people that were crossing those boundaries. Yet it was me that wasn't taking responsibility, it was me that wasn't setting any boundaries with those people and letting them know that actually violated my space. So that is why it is so important to set boundaries, because otherwise it just leads to us having like toxic thoughts and overthinking situations and living in the past and regret, which is not a place that you want to be in. We want to live in the present. So that is why it's so important to set boundaries. Setting boundaries is like directly linked with our self-esteem, our self-worth, and how much we value ourselves. It almost boosts your confidence whenever you practice setting boundaries. So it is so essential to have this in place, or if you haven't started, just take small steps to set boundaries. So I'm going to share with you 7 ways that I have learnt how to set boundaries, and I would love to know if you resonate with any of them. So the first one is knowing your core values. So I guess this comes into knowing who you actually are anyway as a person, taking the time to figure out what's really important to you, what um, what values are a priority for you, what are you willing to tolerate and what are you not willing to tolerate. So once you know this, then you're able to communicate it with other people, and that is so important, to actually know yourself first before you start setting the boundaries. So number 2 is knowing your limits. So if someone crosses your boundaries, it is so essential, like in any area of our lives, with anything that makes us feel uncomfortable or any negative emotions, it's so important to acknowledge our emotions, how we're feeling. Um, because emotional acceptance is so incredibly important when it comes to our mental and physical health. So acknowledging those emotions that come up for us when someone has crossed our boundaries or violated our space, um, and then knowing the limits on which we're not what we're willing to accept and what we're not willing to accept, so that then we can either not take action because okay we're willing to accept it, or actually stepping into taking action. So that is number 2, knowing your limits. So number 3 is changing the way you react. So this has been a huge one for me, because whenever I've grown up always being a very, very reactive person, um, always reacting based off my emotions compared to being proactive based off of my values. And so when someone crosses my boundaries, I find it very difficult not to like just automatically react in a very negative way. It's great to be able to go within and just breathe, take a step back first of all, and then change the way we react to them. So I'll give you an example. So I was living in Melbourne last year. Oh my goodness, so long ago. And I was working in a job, and a boss of mine really was not treating me with the respect that I know I deserve. And they were belittling me, they were talking down to me, and I'm a very feisty, fiery person. For any of those who know me, I'm Gemini, so I can just like I can just get very feisty very quickly if someone crosses my boundaries, because I don't like to be treated like a doormat, as no one does. But what I realised while actually going within, because I was practicing this, going within, I realised that that person actually had a lot of insecurities and emotional pain and suffering that they were going through, and they were just projecting that onto me. So it's important to see it from the other person's point of view, but also then changing your reaction towards them. So I actually learned this from a monk, believe it or not. Whenever I was in Melbourne, I went to a talk by a monk, and they were talking about how to, change the way someone is treating you. And I thought it was, you know, a bit like, I didn't really believe it. I was quite skeptical because they said try loving that person unconditionally. And so I was quite skeptical because I was like, how is that going to change their behavior? I know I can change my behavior because that's all I can do. I can't change how the other person acts. So anyway, I tried it anyway, and instead of um, having thoughts of stress and worrying, like before I went into work, I went in with the mindset of, okay, I'm going to love this person 100%. And whether or not that changed my subconscious behavior towards them, they actually began to change their behavior towards me. And they actually started to, be nicer to me, to not speak down to me, and um, also open up to me, which was huge because I didn't even expect that at all. They even opened up to me about, all of the hardships that they were going through, and I had already known that simply because I know that whenever someone is talking to me in that way, they're actually dealing with something internal. So it was incredible to see how love actually can change the entire situation whenever you implement that. So that was really cool for me to actually adopt that teaching into my own life and see the results. So I actually ended up well, whenever we get to point number seven, you'll understand. But I actually did end up moving jobs. I actually quit that job because I still didn't want to be in that environment with that person, even though they started to be nicer to me, which is funny. But number three does actually work. It did work for me. So number four is being assertive. So, whenever someone crosses your boundaries or they're violating your space, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, it's time to speak up and express your voice, express your concerns or how you're feeling. If you're feeling uncomfortable or awkward because of a comment that was made, or if someone is asking you to do something, or if someone's talking about something that you don't want to talk about, um, then just you can start small. You don't have to just jump all in and be this really like confident person and telling people what to do. It's not about that. It's about being assertive in that you're making your own, or you're honoring your own needs. And for example, say someone is talking about something that you really do not want to talk about, like the news, for example. Like, I really, really, like, anyone who knows me knows that I like cannot watch the news, I cannot read the news, I cannot talk about the news because I just find it like, I just think it's so bad for our mental health. It's all negative. It just really completely it works against all of the personal development and all of the positive mindset work that we do, that we are working on ourselves and trying to make our lives better. So anyway, I could go on another rant about the news, but I won't. So yeah, if someone is talking about, say for example, the news, you can just start off small and just ask to change the subject. You don't have to say, sometimes I do say this, but you don't have to say, if it's with someone that you don't know, you 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 don't have to like say like, I really really do not like the news and I don't want to talk about it. You can just say, can we please change the subject, or even just change the subject yourself. Don't ask for permission, and give yourself permission to do that, to speak up, to really express your authenticity and not let other people dictate what putting you into space that you're not comfortable in. So that is number four, being assertive. So number five is practicing saying no. And this one was a huge one for me because I always felt like I had to say yes to things that people were asking me to do, or if they were inviting me somewhere, I felt like I had to say yes, even if I didn't want to do it. So you can just start by literally saying no to things that don't align with your core values, with your higher purpose, or things that you literally just do not want to do. And I mean, everyone has a choice. We all have to take ownership of, you know, our own decisions. I mean, we're the creators of our own lives. We're the drivers of the car in our own lives. So it is such an amazing and powerful thing to say no to something that we really, really don't want. I remember actually I have a friend who, if we were walking in the street and someone would hand him a leaflet, or even, try to sell him something, I've actually seen this with quite a few people, and they'll say yes even though they do. I can see they're squirming and they don't want to say yes. They really don't want whatever it is, but they still say yes. And I just thought it was so crazy because no one is getting value on either end, because this person isn't really getting a um, true attention from someone, because the other person doesn't really want it. So yeah, it's such an amazing thing and powerful thing to say no. Now those people actually have started to say no. I remember that one specific person actually has started to say no, and it's funny because I actually have witnessed it, and I can actually see how it has raised their self-esteem and confidence. So it is completely linked and all connected. So that is number five, practice saying no. Number six is getting clear on the consequences. So, what are the consequences going to be if someone does cross your boundaries? Are you going to say something? Are you going to not go to that specific event? Are you going to stop responding to that person? Like, decide what the consequences are beforehand, because otherwise it could just lead to you making like a really rash decision that you might regret later on. And then it also helps you to stick your ground whenever someone does violate your boundaries. So that is number six. Get clear on the consequences for when someone is going to cross your boundaries. So number seven, and this is the last one, is block. And what I mean by that is, if someone continues to cross your boundaries, um, and in a way in that they're just making you feel like uncomfortable, and it's getting to the point where you actually, like, this person's taking more energy from you than giving you joy or giving you energy, um, that you actually don't want them in your life. You have a right to choose who's in your life. I know, it's crazy. I actually didn't even realize this until like a few years ago, whenever I had a lot of toxic friendships, and I just kept them in my life because I felt like I had to. So when I actually started to cut these people out of my life, it actually freed up so much room for more positive people to come into my space. And it is so amazing whenever that happens. So I know that some of you may be thinking, oh, well, I can't do that because this person's like a family member, or I've known them for years. So you just think, oh, I can't do that, I can't cut them out. And that's completely okay. Like, I understand that, if you don't want to completely just like block the person from your life, I get it. So what you can do is actually distance yourself from that person and spend less time from them. And in doing that, you're actually giving them less and less energy. So that is a way that you can handle that specific situation. Just like remove yourself um, by spending less time with the person and not completely cutting off the connection if you do not want to do that or if you feel like you can't. Um, but what I will say is that just because someone is blood or just because you've known someone for a very long time doesn't mean that um, they can be excused for like openly like not supporting you or tearing you down or belittling you or degrading you or not respecting you in the way that you deserve and want in a friendship or relationship or whatever it is. Because at the end of the day, like we're not energy banks to give freely to other people. It should be like a mutual exchange, and that in that way, like you make your life better. So yeah, you can reduce your time with that person or give yourself permission to actually just cut the person out and just remove them from your lives because you are allowed to do that. You are the creator, you are in control of your own life and what your life is going to look like. So those are the seven ways that you can set healthy boundaries. Let me know in the comments if you resonate with any of these or if you've done any of them, if you practice them, or if you actually haven't set any boundaries yet. Do you want to start?